Okay, hi guys. This is pretty much the stuff that you need for developing negatives. It's quite a bit of stuff here. It looks complicated because you're seeing it from only one angle. So let me just temporarily move some things out of the way so I can kind of explain this. We're not going to need the tank right this minute. We will be using it, but not this second. Alright. First thing you're going to need is what's talked about mise en place as far as photography goes. Now, I'm not sure what the original French meaning of mise en place is, but the mise and place means place. So I think it means mix in place. I'm going to show you what I mean by that in photography. In photography, we have our T-Max developer. I already had some white vinegar left, so I'll use this first. And then, of course, I have the fixer. And the idea is to mix the proper levels of chemicals to make working solutions in each one of these. As you can see in the label, this is a developer container to hold the appropriate amount of solutions. I figured that at this 250 mil or 150 milliliters or 125 milliliters suggested for this film, that I could actually go to 750 milliliters, which means 150 milliliters of developer to 550 milliliters water is 650 milliliters. And that would be what we're doing. So I have two measuring cups. This one here doesn't go to 150 milliliter capacity. The smallest it can go down to 200. This can go all the way down to 50 milliliters. And so we would be using this measuring cup here to measure out the developer, the fixer, and the stop bath. And each of these cups are all the same, and they're all plastic. So what you do is you're going to be using these to store your working strength chemicals. Now, according to the instructions, it says that you can store working strength solutions in bottles of about 1 liter in size. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that size. This is the stop bath one, same deal. These are all labeled, they're all the same kind of cups. And fixer as well. So each one of these is labeled for the different applications. Now, next thing you're going to need is two things. And you can't have both because photography is a time versus temperature thing. So, you're going to need a thermometer. This happens to be pretty much a very accurate digital thermometer meat probe, and this is designed to take work in wet areas as well. So and I just changed the battery, put a new battery in because the other battery was kind of tired, and just to make sure it doesn't result in any inaccuracies in temperature, and it's good and ready to go. The timer is a standard West Bend kitchen timer, and this can let me count up or I can count down. It works either way. In that case, it's perfect for this. A stirring spoon, especially more important for powder chemicals. I would recommend using plastic spoons. Don't use metal ones because some of these chemicals can corrode them. And for God's sakes, I do not recommend using wood especially because the wood spoons will actually absorb chemicals in the material, and that will cross-contaminate your stuff. You don't want that. Now, the next thing you're going to need is, depending on how your films come out of your camera, because some cameras, especially automatic ones, do a habit of putting the film's tongue all the way back into the reel. Unfortunately, I was able to retrieve the film out of the tongue out, and this is the way I prefer to work because it makes it so much easier when I can just go ahead, and you're going to need a pair of scissors also, but basically when I can take the film negatives out, cut it right here, save the tongues because they're good for fixer tests. What I do, because I just retrieved the film recently, I noticed it's exposed. If you got a lot of reels of film, either you have an exposed goodie bag, or you do what I did right here. I took a piece of tape, like mailing labels, and I just stuck it on the top here. And I know, don't use this film. It's already been used for something. Don't use it again, because I leave the tongues out. So otherwise I would never know. Especially if I was in a dark room, and I happen to just trying to be filming around in the film in the dark, and I feel the tape on this, then I would know that it's already been exposed or something, and that there's a reason why it's like that, and they should leave it alone. If your film camera did suck the tongue up into the cartridge, you could get a cartridge leader retriever, or I made one out of a paper clip. That's how I got this one out. But that's something we'll discuss at a later time. The last thing we're going to need, let me just get some of this stuff out of my way here. That's okay. Is we're going to need a developing tank. So that's the next tool. So let's put this over here so we can show you the tank. This is a Patterson tank. This is a daylight tank. Now, I don't know who came up with the daylight tank, but obviously he did photography a major favor, because once the film is in the tank, it's light tight. So that means you can pour in, agitate, and everything without fogging the film, because the light doesn't get into the tank. So whoever made this technology with the darkroom is very much a very happy man, or woman for that matter. Okay? Now, let's talk about the tank parts. Now, this Patterson tank has two ways to agitate it, and I want to talk about that. So this is the lid. Especially if you're going to do the first type of agitation, you just like a Tupperware container, you put it down 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5 every 30 seconds. That's what you got to do. So if your film says to develop the film for 6 minutes, every 30 seconds, which you will be watching the timer as it counts down. So every 30 seconds, so if it says 6 minutes, and you now see it says 5:30, you agitate, you flip this thing 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. That's one way to agitate it. That's what Patterson says. Now, like my Star D tank, you're going to see this inside. I actually used water in this earlier, so because I was testing to see how fast I can pour in and out of liquids. So what you would do in the Star D tank is you can't flip that upside down because there's no cover. If you did, the developer would fall. There's just water in here. So what they did on the Star D tanks, which are also made by GAF, which also made Ansichrome, is their tank was a thermometer or a nose, so you would actually just agitate back and forth, tap it down a few times, just like this, and, just every so often, especially when you put the film in the first time of the developer, just wrap it hard the first few times. And then just rotate this for 5 seconds, back and forth in a steady way. It's your choice of which technique you're going to use. So let's take a look at the innards of this tank. This is the baffle that keeps the light out. Okay, now as I said, I already rinsed this off in water, so it's why it's wet. Then you have your reels, and there's 2 of them. And these reels can be adjusted for different size heights of films. These are set for 35 millimeter. And what's neat about these reels is that these are adjustable. And they go, I'll just show you how to use the reel action to get the film on here. Unlike some other reels, which have a metal spiral reel, this doesn't have a metal spiral. You don't need to load it the same way. So, unfortunately, I didn't have any bad old film to show you. So, I had to go grab some actual film negatives that were already developed so I can show you how this works. Now, normally you'd be doing this in the dark, and since these are already developed, I don't want... By the way, these are negatives. And let's talk about these real quick. Please try to handle these with care, especially by the edges, because they hold precious memories on them, and you don't want to get them full of crap. So what you would do, if this is a brand new film, please understand, you're doing this in the pitch black. You take the tongue, and you feed it through, and you'll feel it. You can feel it as it grabs into this spiral sprocket here. You can't see it. I'm going to get closer to you so you can see this here. Okay, and you're going to grab it into the spiral sprockets. Okay, like this. Okay, right here and right here. And that's how this is going to work. So now, what I'm going to do is, ideally, with everything going towards me, I just agitate it back and put it like that. Let me do it again so you can see that. Okay? So you're going to take the tongue, grab it by the edges. Okay? Here's the two grooves. You slide it into the two grooves. You can see the two black pieces. That's it. And then you just feed it through. And if the reels are short, you can actually put 2 or 3 films on the same tank. I don't recommend you do it that way, but some people have done it where they can get like 2 24s on one reel, but they don't have to do that unless that's your thing. If that's up to you, that's fine, but I don't recommend it. Okay? Next thing you're going to need, let's start with the next part of the tank. You probably can see the shaft sticking up that these two tanks right on. Okay? And yeah, you can see how this goes, opens and closes. I don't do any 120 anyway right now, but it just slides on here and slides on here. I'm going to do 2 at the same time today, so yeah, I'm going to use both of them. And of course, the tank itself. Okay? And then you put this tank back together like this. This little stirring rod goes back in. I leave it in there so I know where it is. And like I said, because of my arthritis, I don't have it too much on my wrists. But if I don't want to have to try to flip this tank over, other than maybe occasionally popping it against the table to get rid of any water inside or any air bubbles, then I can just do it that way. Kodak suggests showing the Kinderman tank with one hand flipping it over. I can't do it with one hand because unfortunately it's too bulky to do it with one hand. But this is how you would do it. So you say to do it every 5 seconds. You just go, see what I'm saying? 1, 2, 3. But you can't do it that easy. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's I'm also holding on to the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when your developer is done, and the same thing with all the other chemicals, you would take, obviously you would have them all these containers set here. And say, let's pretend this is empty now. You would then take this lid off right here. Only this lid, not that one. And you pour it back into the container. Oh yeah, your stirring stick may fall out too. Just make sure it's in place. But if that happens, and that when they had film in there, you would have ruined your film. It locks in place. Make sure that this clicks. Don't just drop it in place. Okay? And if you're really concerned about it, then just go ahead and pour it with 2 hands and hold it with your fingers so that thing doesn't come off. Okay? Then you would do is you would go to the stop bath after you rinse it out really briefly under warm water, and you pour the 600 milliliters of stop bath in there, and you would just pretty much just agitate it whichever way you want for 30 seconds or so. Agitation is important because that is actually the chemical that is going to stop the development process. Okay? And that's what you would do. And when you're done, again, since you have the cup here, is make sure you get the right one. They're all labeled. That's developer, okay? There's a stop bath. Well, make sure that's why I labeled these. You don't want to cross-contaminate. Then you pour this back into this one. Last step is the fixer. It's the same thing. You would pour the fixer into the tank like this, okay? Then you go ahead and wrap it down. Agitate this for the first, I suggest with T-Max films, agitate this for about every 30 seconds for about 10 minutes. Okay? So the idea is you want to get all the excess undeveloped silver halide off the film. Plus, you need to get rid of the anti-halation dye of the T-Max film as well. And then once that's done, then you can take, at that point, once you're done for 10 minutes or 7 minutes, you would take, you just take this out, and you can go ahead and take the 2 reels, or leave them in the tank, and just run them underwater, and let the water, change the water, say about 5 or 6 times or so, and keep the water, everything should be close to the same temperature of about 22 to 24 degrees Celsius, so that there's no shock. I didn't buy hypochlorine agent, and I didn't buy PhotoFlow. I didn't use PhotoFlow for years, so I don't really think PhotoFlow is going to really make a big difference. Hypoclear can be. Now, because this measure, let's go back to mixing now. Because we're going to be doing mise en place, we're going to be mixing everything, having already seen pre-ready to go. This measuring cup is going to be very, very contaminated from one film chemical to the next. So you're going to want to rinse this out really well between mixing in this developer, the stop bath, which is regular white vinegar, and of course the fixer, because if there's any cross-contamination, it's going to fuck up your film. And it's happened before. I've seen it happen to people where they thought they had it all right, but then they didn't realize, oh, gee, I didn't clean out the measuring cup too well. All of a sudden, everything's cross-contaminated, the film is destroyed, and everybody's still screaming for good reason. So it's just a matter of keeping everything clean, and that's what we're going to do tonight. Now, yes, like I said, that's pretty much the process. We are going to do some real film developing, so, but for right at the second, I want to see how this came out, and then we will go to the next step, which is the big kahuna of actually developing the film. And then once that's done and the film is hung up and it's drying, I'll show you how you're going to dry it, which isn't really that shocking at all. It's actually, drying film is actually really simple. This is basically putting it in a place that's clean. Well, the bathroom is probably the closest one I got, and keeping it in airflow to help it to dry. Unfortunately, since I don't have any wetting agent like PhotoFlow, it's going to probably turn a little cruddy. However, somebody said if you want a little bit of wetting agent, just a tiny drop of Dawn dish soap in the water. I'm like, just a touch. I mean, not even more than much at all. Just a touch of Dawn. Then that'll also help remove any residual fixer as well. I had never tried that. I might try it this time because I don't have any PhotoFlow 200. It's not really like you need a lot. It's going to foam up quite a bit, so you're not really going to need 1,000,000 gallons of it. Just take a drop or two and in the rinse stage. It'll help to, so we'll give that a try and see what that does. Yeah, it can't be any worse. But I don't really think I'm going to need to do that, honestly. We'll find that out real quick after this film. Alright guys, so we'll see you in a little bit. The smell brings back memories. Alright, so we have everything ready to go. You know the temperature. And is it 24 degrees Celsius? It's actually a little warm in here because the light's on, but I can double check it again. So you just do is just take your thermometer, stick it in one solution. The developer is going to be the most important one of all. And it says it's at 25, which means it's a little warm. So I'm going to make an educated guess and say about 5.5. 6 minutes might still be fine, so I can say 6 for now. Okay? The film is in the tank, and the timer is ready to go. I'm going to set the timer for 6 minutes. Actually, I put it in for 5.5. Actually, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay? So, make sure this is locked in. It is, because there's real film in here now. Okay? And we're going to pour in the developer. Remember, these things are labeled. So when you make sure, and by the way, since I have made enough of this, I can actually use the store these in containers. So I'm going to pour in the developer. I need a lot more than I needed, but that's okay. That's fine. Okay. Now, they said to take the stirring rod, wrap it. This is what the milk company said. Patterson said, and then stir this. Oh yeah, I start the timer. I'll hit start now. Okay, and stir this for the first 30 seconds. So you just keep agitating this. The reason I said 30 seconds is because you're going to be and stop. If you want to do the flip method, make sure this is on tight. Okay. And then when this thing says 4:30, as I said, you're going to flip it 5 times. And it's got almost 4:40. Unfortunately, this timer, I wish some of these timers had a 30-second beeper. It does not, so that's okay. It's just about time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it should say, yep, it does. Okay. So now, that's pretty much it. Is you just keep going. So now, it's gone down to 30. So once on to 0 again. Same thing. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So another 30 seconds. Because remember, it's taking every 30 seconds. So you're just going to be watching the second hand. Alright. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you keep going on doing that, and another few seconds, about 9 seconds of the same thing here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you rather do it the other way, which I kind of like better, make sure this thing's locked down, put the steering rod in there, and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, I think the other one worked a little bit better. It does, yeah. Okay. So you can try it both ways, whichever way works better for you. Alright. So, it's going to count down again. I'm going to hit the 0. I'm going to go ahead and start the agitation again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. It's not very scientific, but this works. Again. This is basically this part. This is just basically a following process. It's not really that exciting, trust me. But it is key. Getting 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, it's just gotta keep doing it until this thing hits 0. This timer will beep when it hits 0, and I know at that point to pour it back into the appropriate container. And it's not long from now. Okay, 9 seconds, 8, 7, 6. So pretty much one more agitation left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And one more time after this, and then after that, I'm done, and then I'll just pour it back into the container. Remember, the pouring the container else it counts as a time. You have to add and consider that in. Although with black and white film, it's not really that critical. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now, get ready to pour this back out. Okay. And you take your developer. Make sure it's grab the right one as key. Okay, so now, remember what I told you with the lid? Hold on to it with your dear life because you don't want the film to get exposed. Yes, the liquid will change color because there is a pink dye in the liquid. Okay, so next we pour in Mr. Stop Bath. That's this one right here. This is pretty simple. Like I said, this is regular kitchen vinegar. It's not really that special. Now, like I said, there's a whole bunch of ways to do this. Okay. This is one way. The only thing is it's really hard to get around because your finger gets really slippery. So, if you want to do it this way, you can do it this way. So you can set the timer, or you can just, I'm going to set the timer. So hit 3-0, hit start. Alright. Hold the lid down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's agitate continuously. Alright, you gotta keep doing this until the timer shuts down and says you're done. Stop Bath's job is okay. Okay, so now you do the same thing. You're going to pour this back into the container. Remember I told you about that lid? Hold on to that. You don't want your film to fall out in the process. Because right now it is still, likely to be fogged. Last step, and it's the longest, is Mr. Fixer. Fixer is an important job because it clears out the silver halides that have been unexposed. It also shuts down the film developing process. Okay. So now, the same deal. You're going to put the lid back on. Okay. And you're going to do that because you want to, first of all, is about 5 minutes. Okay, same thing, set the timer for, I think 10 minutes is a little bit long, but the hell with it. I'll throw it in there for 10 anyway. Okay, so 10 minutes. You're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and the reason you do it like every 5 rotations and then every 30 seconds is because actually fixer isn't quite as critical, but you still want to try to get enough of the fixing agent to do its job. So if you don't wash it enough, it's going to fog the fuck out of your film if it's hit right. Usually after 7 minutes you can check it, but okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? It's not quite as dope. It's critical with the fixer, but it is, like I said, this brings back memories. Yep. Like I said, some people say you can let it sit. I wouldn't let it sit because you've got an anti-halation pink backing of this film you got to get off. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? So just keep doing that. And the reason it's critical to get the fixer off. You gotta get the fixer off the film. Alright? So let's see. Darkroom practices, there's a million of them. Whichever one you use is up to you. I haven't used this system. It's just, it has worked for me since high school. Honestly, some people wonder if you can overfix negatives. Well, let's put it this way. I never heard of anybody doing it. I suppose you could, but okay. And the same thing as we keep going and timing and timing. It's just a timing game, basically. You're just going to keep timing it every 30 seconds. So I'm saying with fixer you can do it a little bit less. I'm going to just be err on the side of caution. Only because, especially for the first few minutes, because this is really important. You got to get all that undeveloped halide. Okay. And you just keep doing it and doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it. Okay? Now, you could probably, if you really want to, you probably could do it 1 minute. Okay? So you keep doing that. And yeah, you probably can get away with 1 minute. I set the timer for 10 minutes, which is ridiculously long. But that's okay because once you get it in for the first 6 minutes or so, which means when it gets on in about 4 minutes, you can take a quick look and see if the fixer, if the red dye is gone. If it is, you're all set. I'm going to let it sit up a minute at a time, agitation times. Because there really isn't much to do. At this point, the fixer's already pretty much gone to the chemicals and already has worked the job off. So I can go ahead and do this now, but every minute, and it'll be fine. We're actually done now. This is pretty much the final step. So, like I said, it's not really 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? And we just keep timing it. I'm going to do it for about a minute at a time now because we pretty much are in the final step. These films are from last summer. I have no idea what's on them. I have no idea what the exposures look like. I have no idea what the pictures are. These are time capsules. I have no idea what's on these films. I won't know until I open them. And once I rinse them off, once I take them out of the cartridge, and once I hang them up on my clothesline to dry, we're going to find out. Are we going to try using Dawn just soap as a hypochlorine agent or winning solution? Sure, why not? I mean, it's not really gonna matter all that much. It's In fact, if anything, it's just going to add another layer to my pain and my processing. But it's not like... Now, I did process this in pretty dark room, but I think there was a little bit of residual light in there, so there might be some fogging. Okay, so there might be some fogging in there. In the film negatives. You'll see that when you pull it out of the film. Now, they said pretty much 7 minutes for T-Max. I'm going to just leave it in for 8. In other words, when this thing gets down to about 2 minutes, that's probably what I can take a look at the reel. I want to get in there for about 8 minutes to prevent fogging, because I don't want my film to get fogged from this light from here. Otherwise, what's the point? You're going to end up ruining your film, and then you're going to be wasting all that money in chemicals doing a film that's going to be nothing more than a fog fest. Unless that's the effect you want. Some people do that for an effect, that they will actually want. This place reminds me of my dark room in my basement at my parents' house. The smells come back. The smells bring back memories for me of the years I would be sitting after high school. I would be taking negative, shooting pictures, and then I'd bring in my films back home, and I would develop them in the basement. And darken my head down there, and this just brings back memories to those days. Of course, my hips were a little bit better, so I could stand more, but this is pretty much the same process. So I'm just counting it down. It doesn't have to be dead on accurate, trust me, but usually they said about 7 minutes for fresh fixer, and this is as fresh as it gets. So okay. But my part of me says, my intelligence quota says, fix it longer. It ain't gonna kill you. It's just gonna, okay, so I know you're desperate to see what it looks like, aren't you? I'd like to see it. You will. Okay. There's only 2 minutes left. I'd rather err on the side of caution because this is T-Max. If this is plus X or tri-X standard film, it wouldn't really make much of a damn difference. But this has got this pink anti-halation dye underneath it. You got to get off, and that's the reason why you want to get that off as much as you can. So that's the reason. Okay. So 1. No, it's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, that's pretty much what you do, just like that. Just keep rotating it, and I think this will be a really, really exciting. Now, as far as the photo flow idea, I'm gonna try it. I don't know how well it's gonna work, but if anything, it's gonna clean the negatives up good and nice. It's a wetting agent. That's what it's supposed to do. So somehow my brain says with the idea of putting a tiny dab of dish soap in, doesn't sound to me like it's going to really help a hell of a lot. But we'll find out. You know, it's just an additional step. Okay, 10 seconds left. Then we'll do the final agitation, and then when this minute's up, I can pour this into this, and we can take a quick look and see what it looks like. And that's how it'll be safe. So we'll look at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 again. Okay, so I'll just take this off and put that there, and put the fixer container right near me. At this point, yes, you can. I know it smells like a chemistry lab. Okay, it's good enough. Okay, so I don't even need. Okay, so what you do is you're gonna pour this in. Okay. Now, we can take the lids off and we can take a quick look at see how this came out. And I can tell you right now, they look very good. That's all I can tell you right now, just from looking at this tongue real quick. I don't even have to go into the details in this tongue. I can see it, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to rinse these off. You got to do that anyway because it's so full of fixer stuff. It's had to wash the film for so long to remove the fixer, which is very important, especially for papers. Okay. Alright, this should be fine now. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take these negatives, I'm going to hang them in the bathroom. And let's see how it does. I'm actually surprised the cat didn't make a mess in my apartment when I was working. Surprise, surprise. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I don't have any nice fancy bottles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use soda bottles. Just so I this way save these things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of these chemicals into these, and then I will go ahead and hang the film up before I do that. Actually, I hang it up before the cat gets to them. You have it. The film is drying. Right there, you can see them. Negatives are drying. I didn't do the photo flow trick, but you make sure that you dry them, and they're drying really nice, and they look really good. I'm very happy with the results. Now I just gotta let them develop, dry, and we're done. Oh, actually, I gotta cut 6 at a time, and then after that we can go ahead and skin the juicy bits into the camera. Actually, Rafane, by the way, was in the house the whole time. I didn't even know that. So, but he was. So, the point is, you can see that the process is pretty straightforward. It's not tricky. There's no special magic incantations. You don't have to say any special voodoo. And I already put the chemicals away, so now let's put the hardware away. And so the tank in here. The small measuring cup I use for other things, so I'm going to rinse that out and put that away. And the chemicals are good enough for another day. I'll probably use them maybe one more time because the stuff will stay good for about a month or so. And that's what I'm going to do. So, put my tools away. Yeah. Oh, wait. Well, you probably wonder what this wire was for. Well, these cabinets are. They don't have any kind of good way of staying closed on their own, so they tend to bunk me in the skull. So there's no snaps on them. So. Okay. So. And then I put the used chemicals into another container so I can reuse them and keep them out of my cat's way. So, and that's it. That's how you develop film at home, honey. Oh yeah, for those of you who do want to know, color film and color slides, thanks to modern technology, is the same process. 3 chemicals, but both color slides and color print film is much more time sensitive. And the chemicals are much more expensive. What I might do is I might go ahead eventually and pick up some E6 chemistry someday soon and some C41 chemistry. And so we can develop some color slides so you can see what they look like. And for now, like I said, I have the other chemicals safely tucked away out of my arm's reach of my cats so that they won't be affected by the chemicals. Because one thing is for sure, you don't want your cats getting into your stuff, especially not chemicals. Most black and white chemicals are fairly safe. I said most. But there are some that are really bad, especially if you're going to do reversal film processing, black and white reversals. The bleach is highly toxic to you and the cat, so you really want to stay out of the harm's way with the bleach. And that's pretty much it. So I want to rinse the negatives to dry. I cut them into strips of 6, and I then can go ahead and print them, develop them, and make nice pictures out of them. And we will do the next step, which it's going to take a while because the film's got to dry first. Well, I don't think it's going to take long because the film it's pretty mild in here. It's warm in here. So I think it's probably not going to take long to dry. But that's it for that. That's all you have to know. But thanks for watching this, guys. I hope this was educational to you. I hope you found something exciting about the whole process. Okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.